Welcome back to Angie Max, Little Mites and More. I want you to meet the newest member of our flock, and this is my little boy. He's 5 months old. He's molting, so he's having his first molt. So I know he's well over 4 months, because if you look on top of his head, the barring, which is the black lines, are no longer right down to the cere, and the cere is the nostrils, and they're sort of gone. So they don't usually do that until they have had a molt, but he's still molting. He's pretty, really pretty colours. He's definitely a boy. I got him, I was going to hand rear from a friend and decided not to, because there's lots of misconceptions about sexing your budgie. And while I'm not an expert on budgies, I do know that, trying to sex them so young, while hand rearing 3-4 weeks, is, pretty not accurate at all. I didn't want a hen, and let me tell you why I didn't want a hen. I'm not knocking female budgies. I've had female budgies in the past, and the males seem a lot more calmer. They're more vocal, though. They seem a lot more playful, and they tend to bond quicker. The females seem to be more independent and more feisty. Now, that's what I've learned from having them. I'm not saying your female budgerigars like that. So he's a tiny little chap, but do not underestimate the size. And these guys are super intelligent. They make amazing pets, and they are very easy to tame. People have said to me, if you hand rear them, are they closer to you than one that you bought at 4 months or so? Well, in the beginning, the answer probably is yes. But like I said, Frazer is 5 months old, and with lots of time and lots of effort and lots of talking and gentle encouragement, there is no reason at all why he wouldn't be as tame or as bonded as any budgie that had been hand reared. But it's all about time, putting time in, and spending lots of time with him. So budgerigar, well, the name budgerigar actually comes from the Aboriginals, I believe. It means good to eat, and when people hear that expression, they get the wrong idea that the Aboriginals were saying, oh, we'll eat that budgie, because when you look at how tiny they are, the wild budgies, so I call them, not the exhibitions, they're really, you really wouldn't get much of them. But wherever there's flocks of budgies, the Aboriginals say, there's food. And that's what so if they saw flocks of budgies out in the wild, they knew that somewhere along the line there's going to be food for them also. And that's where the name came from, I believe. There's lots of misconceptions about budgies, budgerigars, or they're known as parakeets. And that's important, because a budgie is actually a parrot, and they don't get the credit they deserve. They're very smart. If you talk to them, interact with them, spend lots of time with them, you can see he's molting. They're fabulous talkers. They have a huge vocabulary. We had a female that did talk, but the males tend to talk, in my opinion, much better, more likely to talk. Frazer is an only budgie. Now, a lot of people may say that's not the right thing to do, and I would agree with you. Budgies really should you know, have a mate, or someone to play with. But I found that, you know, if you have more than one, they'll tend to go to their mate unless you brought them up together in that aspect. So with Frazer, you know, I want him to bond with just me. And so, you know, that's why he's on his own. But he's not on his own in the house. He's in a room with other birds. But, you know, he's not with another budgie, so to speak. So I just want to go over a few things that I found out and I cleared from my avian vet. We got Frazer yesterday, and he's quite a gentle little boy. He's already starting to step up very gently, and I'm encouraging him with a little bit of millet, you know, as a treat. And we'll go through all that as time goes on. I'll tell you what I've done, and we'll do some more footage of Frazer. But it's the grit thing that I need to discuss as well. When I picked Frazer up yesterday, the pet shop insisted that Frazer have grit. I've never given my budgies grit. I've never given my cockatiels grit, and I certainly don't give my parrots grit. I know chickens have grit, but anyway, she was very insistent, and she said to me, you know, if you don't give them grit to help them digest their food, you know, you're lucky if they live over 5 months, they'll die probably. And I find that quite shocking that a pet shop would be recommending that. I bought the grit because it was very cheap, but I was, in the back of my head, I was like, no, this doesn't seem right. And I've never used grit. So because I'm still learning about the budgerigar, even though I've had them in the past, I thought it best to check. So I rang my vets, my avian vets, and he absolutely said to me, no, it's a misconception. It's quite an old-fashioned belief, and not to give him grit, and not to give the cockatiels grit, and not to give the parrots grit, because budgerigars do dehusk their seed, you know, so it's not like they just swallow it. So they do dehusk it and take the shell off, that is, and so they don't need it. There are other species that I think probably do, but I'm not going to name them because I could be wrong, but I think it's mainly the species that swallow the whole seed and they don't dehusk, and they have the grit, you know, to help them digest it. But your budgerigar, your cockatiel and your parrot does not need grit. In fact, I had a lady last year who had grit for her budgie, and it started doing grey droppings, and it was very, very sick, and the vets didn't quite know what was wrong with it, and they said it was going to die. And she brought her budgerigar home, kept up with it and gave it water, and she asked me, and I said, is there grit in the cage? And she said yes, and I told her to take it out, and it did pass some more. So the chances are it had a blockage of some sort in the gizzard or somewhere in the intestines, like, and you know, it can be dangerous. So that is my personal view. Frazer will not be getting grit. I don't think he needs it. I haven't been around because I am still distraught about my African, excuse me, about Brooke, my African grey, who died a while back. When I rehomed my budgies, because I had too many, I had 18 birds, and I couldn't give them the individual attention that they required. And after what happened to my last budgie, which I don't want to discuss on here, which was an accident that, we are still trying to get over, on top of losing Brooke, I rehomed all my budgies to a friend who had an aviary, free of charge. I don't, make money from my pets or anything like that. And they're happily living, and they've got a wonderful life. But I always missed Cade. Cade was a funny little thing, and he had spayed legs and he was left for dead, and we hand raised Cade, and I've always missed him. Never gotten over it. I've been offered a number of birds for free, and it's people have seen my uploads here and have been quite sad to what happened to Brooke. They've gone back and looked on past uploads and they've seen how much she went through and how much we loved her and fought to keep her. And I was offered a pineapple conure, which was lovely. I was offered a cockatoo, which I'm not brave enough to have. I was offered a Quaker. I didn't want to replace Brooke. I don't want any more parrots. I have enough. But I did miss my budgerigar, Cade. And so therefore I decided I would like another budgie. And here we have Frazer. And I hope you'll help follow the journey. I'm going to start getting to talk and train, and hopefully you'll come on my and Frazer's journey together and watch him develop and see how he gets on. So sorry I haven't been around, guys, but welcome this beautiful baby. Hello, darling, you pretty boy. And if you can, guys, keep smiling.